Hey everyone, it's Thomas Wooden Railway, and today let's walk through the July 2014 Thomas & Friends Wooden Railway catalog. There's a bit of a backstory to this one. For those who don't know, over 10 years ago, Fisher-Price actually launched a dedicated website that exclusively sold Thomas Wooden Railway, and they did a bunch of promotion about it and had exclusive items, and it was really, really fascinating. But it didn't last super long, and there's a couple reasons for that. But this catalog comes from the website, and basically how you got this catalog was if you bought something off of the website, you'd input your phone number, your email address, your actual address, because they were sending you stuff, and then you could choose to sign up to receive one of these in the mail. It was supposed to be like a little free catalog, and it was designed to basically, I would guess, to increase interest in the brand. If it is indeed July 2014, about a year and a half prior to this, that's when Fisher-Price got the license for Thomas Wooden Railway toys, and this was really them pushing the brand in a really new, different direction. They were really gung-ho on Thomas Wooden Railway. It was definitely a product they were getting behind, and sadly, it didn't last super long, but while it lasted, it was really, really cool. So the website is a whole other discussion, but I'm here to talk about this catalog that you would have received in the mail had you bought something from the website. So on the cover here, you can see we have Thomas at the forefront, and then this was right when they announced something called the Sodor Story Collection, which is where engines like Logan and Sam and Dustin came into. It was kind of a multi-pronged release is the best way to put it. The website launched, and then there was also a list of official specialty stations, which were brick and mortar locations across the United States. Basically like really well-performing toy stores would be the best way to say it. They struck a deal with Fisher-Price and were going to carry some of the stuff that you could only find on the website. Now, unfortunately, there is a little bit about Canada in here, but for the rest of the world, if you were not located in the United States, then the website didn't really do you any help, and the specialty stations didn't really help you, because this was definitely like an American push. But anyway, on the cover here, this looks decent. This came used from eBay. Unfortunately, it is missing some pages, but we're going to do our best to work our way through it. I have a couple of others versions of these that they released at later dates, and those are all in much better condition, but I never picked up the first one because I didn't order stuff off of the website for a really long time. So anyway, this is just saying that, Logan is a new character. And I'll talk more about the website and the specialty stations and the items in this catalog right now. So the front here says, "Your invitation to imagination, new and exclusive products inside." Let's take a look. So you might be thinking, this looks very similar to a Thomas Wooden Railway yearbook. And yeah, it is pretty similar. I think that they have different purposes. The yearbook is more of like a celebration of, the previous year's products, whereas this magazine or catalog is definitely like, it's supposed to convert people to get them into Thomas Wooden Railway and basically get people buying the toys more than anything. You'll see a lot of prices thrown around and stuff. But I did want to read this little introduction here because it's very poignant. The celebration of imagination. You're invited to participate in something extraordinary, your child's imagination. For little conductors, Thomas & Friends Wooden Railway is a ticket to embark on fascinating adventures with their engine friends. And through engaging storytelling, children learn important life lessons about the value of friendship, teamwork, and what it means to be a really useful engine. I mean, that basically sums it up. So we have a little set right here, and this appears to be the Thomas's birthday surprise set. And then there's this little insert here, which if you take the time to read this, they had a sweepstakes going on, and it was actually, funnily enough, called the Calling All Engines Sweepstakes. And it was basically an opportunity for you to get some free Thomas products. It looks like 10 people were going to receive the Logan and the Big Blue Engine story set. There's more information on the back side, basically showing the set. And then some fine print like many will enter, few will win. You have to be in the United States. You have to be 18 years old, that type of thing. So this right off the bat, I mean, they're already trying to get you to sign up, basically. But the picture in the background is pretty cool. It's a little child playing with Thomas, and it's hard to believe. I mean, this catalog's 10 years old, so this child is probably maybe in high school at this point, which is crazy to think about. And then we have we have a table of contents on the side here. Basically, it's going to walk us through like the Sodor story collection, my custom engine, which was a big thing, the create a set. Really, like, basically they're starting off this catalog with all of the new stuff. Like, here's our exclusive stuff. Here's the new things you couldn't previously do when Learning Curve or Tomy were in charge. So we immediately jump into this Sodor Story Collection thing. And the Sodor Story Collection was a big deal when it released. It was these really high quality sets with exclusive engines and exclusive pieces of rolling stock. And it just felt like more effort was being put into the toys, which not like Learning Curve or Tomy ever slacked, but I think for a while there, they were kind of on autopilot. And this was like a breath of fresh air. Like, we have these really big sets with brand new Wooden Railway characters. Like, that was unheard of. So there were a couple of different sets. There was the Logan and the Big Blue Engine set, Thomas's birthday surprise, Percy and the Little Goat, James sorts it out. Later, there was a Sam set and also a Dustin set that came a little bit later, but this was kind of like the initial release. So they're talking about meeting Logan over here, how he's different, how he looks like a diesel. If you're a Thomas fan, you kind of know all this stuff already, but this is definitely meant for parents. I think it works for both. It works for kids and parents. The kids want to look through and look at the pictures, which I was always fascinated with as a kid, but then there's a lot of like reading and stuff in here, which I think will get parents up to speed on what's going on with the Thomas Wooden Railway line. So we immediately kick off with the Logan and the Big Blue Engine set, and there's a lot of things I want to talk about here. First off, in terms of this video, like, I really just wanted to show off like the really cool pictures that they have. They seemingly had like a photo shoot where they put all these sets together and made them look super nice, like all of this coal dust or rubber that they put down and the green hills in the background. Like, this stuff looks really, really nice. And I mean, this is what a kid imagines when they're playing. I mean, you're not on the play table like this. You are in the coal yard, you're in the shunting yard, you're at Knapford Station. This is what your imagination is doing. So they have some really great pictures, promotional pictures and images of all the characters and the items. One thing that always stuck with me is this was really common on a lot of Fisher-Price products. They reused the old Learning Curve and Tomy engines for a lot of their photo shoots. And to me, like, this is always a huge blunder because, I mean, you're a company that has just got the license to a really awesome piece of merchandise. And then when you're trying to advertise that merchandise, you're not even showing the correct toys that people are going to receive. I'm not sure if anybody ever called this out internally, but I'm sure somebody with a security clearance was like, oh, that's the wrong Gordon? Oh, nobody will really notice. Like, are parents really going to notice he has a different face? Well, that's the thing with Thomas fans is we notice all the little things, like all the little details. It was always fun to comb over these pictures and look for stuff like that. So this was really common. But yeah, in this entire photo shoot they have here, they have another company's product that they're advertising, which you'd think would be a huge blunder and a huge mistake and might be a PR nightmare, but I guess not. So anyway, they talk about the Logan and the Big Blue Engine set. This is obviously a really great picture, but then this is actually what you are receiving. It looks a little less impressive than that, but you know, you get Logan, you get a normal Gordon, but I always liked this set because it came with a ton of switches, you know, T switches, V switches, you know, not like a whole lot of like reusable track, but the exclusive items were really great. You know, you got the coach, and I think the set, I'm pretty sure the set is where you got the dirty version of Logan, which you can't actually see in these pictures. That's a clean Logan, and then you got the clean Logan in the 2-pack down there. So I think that's something that wasn't really highlighted here. I talked about at the beginning, you know, why didn't the Thomas Wooden Railway website succeed? Why don't we have the Thomas Wooden Railway website today? And a lot of things went right. Like the products were not the problem. The quality was not the problem. It was the price, I think, was the killer thing. For a set like this, Fisher-Price was asking in the neighborhood of $250. And again, we can sit here and argue, yes, it's good quality, it will last forever, you can run it over in a car, you can probably throw it in a wood chipper and it would survive. But, you know, price is kind of king for most people, especially parents buying toys on a budget. And so, like, if they see that's $250, they don't really care what it comes with. They're just probably like, nope. They might go to a cheaper brand like Trackmaster or Take and Play, something like that. So, I mean, there was a lot of love put into these exclusive toys for sure, but the pricing to me always seemed a little bit high. They're talking about how you can bundle and save, and then like there's this accessory pack with the bubblesome trucks, and like this has always been kind of a funny thing, but it was $30, and like a normal 2-pack rolling stock thing would have been like $25, but it's $5 more. I guess you're paying like the internet tax there. And then there's this book pack, which is just Logan and a cargo car with a piece of coal. That should have been a coal car, I should say. And then the book, which I was never into the book. I always thought that was kind of a waste, but I'm not really the target audience. But again, they wanted like $35. Like if Logan had been sold by himself individually, he's like a $15 item max. But they're saying the book and the cargo car is worth $10. Like, I don't know about that. So you're going to hear me gripe about price throughout this video because I think that's what killed a lot of the momentum. I remember when the website was launched and they're talking about all of these sets, and I went on the website and I thought all this stuff was cool. Like Logan's a cool idea and all this, but then you looked at the price and you're like, oh boy, like I can't afford any of this. And very quickly, I ended up buying quite a bit of stuff off of the website in its later years, but that's only when stuff was on sale. I mean, they would drop the price of the $250 sets to like $99. I mean, that's a 60% discount. Like, I think they needed to start moving this stuff. And then even after the website went away, all of this stuff for the most part ended up at, you know, discount stores like TJ Maxx or Marshalls or Home Goods or Tuesday Morning, and it was always discounted. So I think price was the big killer here. I think Fisher Price wanted to make a quality product, but they also wanted to charge like a really premium price. And I don't think consumers were really in agreement. So this next page is a little bit weird. I apologize. I am missing some pages from this catalog as it came used. So I think every Sodor story collection set was supposed to have like its own spread. I'm missing a couple. So we have half of the birthday surprise set and half of the James Sorts It Out set. We're missing the Percy and the little goat. So we'll kind of take it page by page here. But again, like, I am a huge fan of how these sets are presented with the green grass, the lichen, you know, the trees, like non-Thomas Wooden Railway trees in the back, like really top-notch stuff. I really can't argue. The pictures are somewhat deceiving, like they have, you know, Percy and Toby in there, and then you actually look and it's like, oh, well, they're actually accessory packs. This is in contrast to like Learning Curve's heydays where they would do a really big set like this, but they would include like 5 or 6 engines. And then you look down here and it's like, oh, you just get Thomas and Winston. Like, that's still cool, but, you know, I mean, really, if you want like a bustling railway, you kind of need those packs above. So all of these Sodor Story collection sets were $250. They were also available at the official specialty stations, only in select retailers in the United States. Again, they were a lot of like mom and pop stores that unfortunately some are no longer around, or they've completely discontinued carrying the modern version of Thomas Wooden Railway. I always passed on this set, but I recently picked up a lot of the items, and I've come to appreciate all of the custom pieces that were made. Like, these are not like, you know, a single stone tunnel like repainted. Like, all of these are like brand new like creations that they had to design and manufacture and spit out and put in the box. So we can't say there was not any love put into these toys. I think there was just a disconnect between, you know, what people thought the value of these toys should be. The first set that I bought from the Sodor Story collection was the James, I think I might have said James Sorts It Out or James Works It Out. It's the James Sorts It Out set. Apologies, you can't see the full set here, but the piece that I was always after was this. It's actually the backside of this Steamworks building. That was a really, really cool piece. It came with an exclusive James. It came with Colin, of all things, like very randomly. And then they're always trying to upsell you on these accessory packs like Diesel and a hazard sign, or Normal Charlie and some, you know, billboard cargo piece that, again, like the pricing on this stuff, I think was just a little bit, you know, kind of out there. They also did some stuff where like the Charlie thing is available at specialty stations, but the diesel one is only available online. I mean, they were really making you like work for this stuff if you really wanted it. Like I said, eventually all of this stuff went on heavy sale. It was eventually on clearance. But for the first couple years of its existence, if you wanted this stuff, you had to pay for it. Probably the coolest thing that ever came out of the Thomas Wooden Railway website was the My Custom Engine. I did a video on this several years ago, and it really was a cool thing. You could basically customize your own engine, which I think we've all had, the fantasy of doing. And, there wasn't as much customization as I would have liked. I remember when this was announced, I was like, only 3 engines. That's kind of lame. But you have to remember all the different, versions and colors and things you were dealing with. So what you would do is you would start with basically a base model, and I would, they have their names there, but it was basically Charlie, Peter, Sam, or Scruff. And they all came with unique faces, and then you would choose a color. And originally we had 4 colors, which was later expanded to 5. I think they added silver. And there was going to be a diesel variant, but that never came to fruition. There are a couple prototypes or whatever you want to call them floating around. And then you would choose a name and a number. So I bought a bunch of these. Again, they wanted like $35 for these. I thought that was a lot. So when they went on sale, I bought them up, and I'm very glad I did because these are very hard to find. You could choose a number between 0 and 99, and then the name was printed on the chassis. You got the book. I mean, it was a great thing. It was really, really awesome. They wanted to sell you some of this extra stuff, like this story stand, which I need to clarify something here. So you get the book. You get the book right there. So that thing that's spread out, in the 4 sections, that's the book that you get. That's not the stand. The stand is that top part right there. It's like a piece of wood with some wedges in it. And it's basically to keep the book upright. And then they give you 8 pieces of track, and they thought that was worth $35. I guess the track had gold and inlay in it. Okay. So that's kind of the thing I'm getting at with a lot of this stuff is it was cool, but man, like I think their pricing was all wrong, unfortunately. And then they're saying, oh, but you can get the engine and the book and the story stand and save $10, but it's still $60. So this was always something I kind of laughed at. I never got the story stand. I always thought it was kind of ridiculously priced. So this was something super cool on the website. I mean, I would go to that URL, which doesn't exist anymore, and I would just play around with like the characters and the colors and make your own engines. And they later came out with some more decorations you could put on, like birthday streamers and hazard stripes and snow and stuff. Like, they were committed to it for a little bit, but in the scheme of things, it didn't last very long. My custom engine is sorely missed. They were also pushing for some of this other exclusive stuff, not under the My Custom Engine or the Sodor Story Collection banner. So you would basically start out with this deluxe layout, which is a decent set in and of itself. And you would get this exclusive signal house, and then you would choose one of these 6 engines to basically, like, you would choose your engine that you wanted to have run around on your layout, and then you would choose like a bigger destination. So you go 1, 2, 3, and you could add an accessory pack at the end. So looking at this picture here, this isn't actually far out from what your set could end up looking like, but again, the price, it's $175. So if I'm looking at this set down here, I'm thinking that's like a $75 to like $100 set right there. I think $100 is like at the top end of that. So, I mean, if you played your cards right, and you didn't choose a small engine like these right here, and you actually chose like Gordon, for example, which retailed for $25, and then you chose Cranky, which retailed for $50, you could actually get, $175 worth of stuff. The problem is I think most parents doing this like probably didn't think through it that hard. So Mattel and Fisher-Price were just making a lot of money off of this. So this is not a bad idea. It's kind of like a way to like customize your own set. But yeah, I keep coming back to the price. The signal house is something that I have. I got it individually. You could buy it by itself on the website. I have that. I don't know where I picked up my Cranky. That must have been a solo purchase, but I did get the Sodor Sweet Factory. And when this was on sale one time, I think I got this for like $10 or something. So, that's the thing is there's a lot of great ideas on this website. There was effort put into this, but the pricing, which the yearbooks usually don't cover pricing, that's why I'm kind of obsessing over it. The pricing, I think, was a little bit of a missed mark there. So we kind of have some more Thomas stuff here. I was never really interested in this as a kid or especially as an adult, but it's kind of like Thomas lifestyle accessory stuff. So they have like some bedding, a pillow you can buy, you know, a quilt, a teddy bear. I think the teddy bears showed up in stores. I don't remember any of the other stuff showing up. I think all of this was online exclusive stuff, until, with the exception of the teddy bear. So yeah, like, I guess if you were a really big Thomas fan, you might have been into this. But fun fact, after this stuff disappeared from the website, like a few years later in 2017, I actually walked into Pottery Barn, or Pottery Barn Kids, I think it was, and they had some really nice Thomas bedding there that was very Railway Series-esque, but again, it was super expensive, and I was just like, I don't know if parents are willing to pay for this type of stuff, you know, like I just don't think, you know, the toys are expensive enough, but then you want to, like, you know, live the Thomas lifestyle. I don't know about that. Fun fact, you know, style-wise, body-wise, that Thomas doesn't look like All Engines Go, but the face is kind of reminiscent of it. So anyway, this was an area that they push as well. I always skip this section when looking at the website. So we have another broken page here. Apologies. We go from page 20 to 25. So there was some more stuff they were trying to sell you on. You know, they always wanted to sell you a play table, and man, that's expensive, like $250. At least you get the board with it. But that's pricey money. And the thing is like, these are a dime a dozen. Like, I see them for sale on Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist all the time. Like, there was not a shortage of these tables, and the people reselling them, you know, they want top dollar for them because they paid top dollar. And it's like, man, like, I think people even struggle to give these away for free. Like, they just do not keep their value. They're big, they're clunky. I grew up with a play table. I grew up with this play table, but I did not have the actual play table. I grew up with the board, not the play table. And the tables, or excuse me, the play board's nice. And you can kind of find your own way of propping it up. You can stick it on the carpet and it's not that big of a deal, but the table is just big. It doesn't fold together. It doesn't, you know, you can't hide it anywhere. And I think it's one of those purchases that I think parents maybe come to regret because it's expensive. And then if your kid ever gets out of Thomas, it's like, great, I have this Thomas table that I can't use. So $60 for a playboard, I actually don't think that's too bad, you know, made out of solid wood. The reversible one's a little more expensive. It has the tracks ingrained in the playboard. There's this storage thing here, again, like $35. I think I saw this one time at like a TJ Maxx, and it was just made out of cloth, and I was like, I can pass on that. I think in this part of the magazine, they were going to talk more about some of the other sets you could buy, but we jumped to like halfway through this like Fishy delivery set, and this set always kind of puzzled me because it sold for like $79 or $80, and even nowadays, if it's new in box, it fetches a few $100s, and I'm like, this is out. I always thought it was a little outrageous. It's a figure 8 set with some pieces, nothing special. I mean, there's the very edge of it. I apologize, you can't see the whole thing, but if you look up a picture of this set's nothing special. It comes with an exclusive James, but for some reason, this set always fetched a high price, and I never really understood why. This is kind of a friendly reminder as to what stuff used to cost. So Tidmouth sheds, I didn't realize it was so expensive, but this has it as 90. I think I bought my Learning Curve version for 80. Sodor washdown was 40. A Sir Topham Hatt figure is $8. Like that's kind of a ripoff to me. That's something you throw in the bag when somebody spends like $50 or more or something. Henry was 22. I always saw these engines for 25. I think they're being kind of generous on their pricing there. So yeah, I'm more obsessed with the really cool pictures they have and like the sets or the photo shoot they did with some of these items. We get into some more classic items like a figure 8 here. Doesn't look as cool without the cool background there, but there's this little section dedicated to the Search and Rescue Center, and I think it's kind of funny. They have Rusty on here, and I think that's, you know, we as Thomas fans, we know that's incorrect right away, but somebody at Fisher-Price who had to learn Thomas, you know, they maybe didn't know. Rocky is in the wrong formation here. That middle car should be in front. Butch and Flynn. I think this was the only way to get a red-wheeled Flynn in his Fisher-Price appearance. And then there was another version, a later version of this 2-pack where they both had their color wheels omitted. I recently just picked this up used. It's the basically the helipad. I always thought this would look really great on like a Sodor search and rescue area of a layout. I've had this for a while. And then just some like general characters like Birdie, Talking Spencer with 25. I don't think that mock-up they have is just normal Spencer, I want to say. I don't see the lamp on the other side. Emily was 22. Again, they're just kind of throwing items at you, trying to get you interested. This is kind of interesting. So I did a review on this deluxe roundhouse several years ago. I picked it up at a discount, and I didn't realize retail price was $130, and that gets me thinking because I personally prefer the Tidmouth sheds because it's the one you see on screen, and it's $40 cheaper. This is basically a learning curve invention trying to get you to buy a really expensive roundhouse. Crobin's gate, sure. So I was never really a fan of that. And then, they have some other stuff here. Again, another plug for the Sir Topham Hatt figure. Knapford Station's actually cheaper than I remember. I'm pretty sure the Learning Curve version with the microphone was like $80. You got some buffers and some V-switches though. And then the current version, like the 2022 Knapford Station, is right around $100, I think. $33 for a signal, that's kind of a lot. This page is just, it's just kind of fine print. It talks about shipping. Here's the little section on Canada. I don't think they really did a whole lot of international stuff, but they're saying you could add $5 to standard shipping and get it sent via Canada Post. But this whole thing, the magazine, the website, the Sodor Story Collection, the specialty stations, they were all a play for the American market. So this is just fine print stuff. And then if you went to a specialty shop, you did have the option of getting stuff gift wrapped. I never had this done. Seemed kind of like a waste of money. They might have even done it online, I'm not going to lie. I think it was always an option when you checked out, but that was just like 15 or 20 bucks I never wanted to spend. So we still have a couple more pages to go. That trade-off period between Tomy and Fisher-Price 2012, 2013, unfortunately hit Blue Mountain Mystery really hard. There was a yearbook that wasn't made. Sets were delayed. A lot of engines were delayed. So in 2013, they finally released the Merrick and the Rock Crusher set, which you see there. Again, I love the detail in the back. That looks like it came right out of a Blue Mountain quarry. So this was a set that always kind of like Merrick's cool, but that's like it. And then Thomas and Luke are just normal. And that was always disappointing, but like, hey, you could throw in Rheneas or the Quarry Mine Tunnel. And then there's this little like half-page section on the diesels. And really, yeah, this seemed wrong, but this is all we had at the time. We had Diesel. Talking Diesel 10 is listed at $20, but it was actually more like $25. I remember I bought one of those in store, and it was a little more expensive than I was thinking. Yeah, Paxton was the only Diesel because Norman and Sydney weren't released by themselves. Airy and Bert were sold together, and then some more pieces of cargo. And I remember skipping out on this Scenes of Sodor tunnel thing. I never really liked the 2D facade there. I always thought it was kind of cheap looking. We have another split here. We go from page 32 to 37. So one thing that Thomas Wooden Railway has always been known for is the track has always been super expensive, and this was no exception. They copied some expansion packs from the Learning Curve era, but yeah, I mean, you break this down, like this pack right here is like $2 a piece. Like you're saying like that is $2. It gets even worse because for the first time you could actually buy track a la carte, which sounds like a great idea, but then like you look at the prices here, like track number 7, which is that 8-inch straight piece, that's almost $6. That's a lot of money. So I was always a fan of buying generic track for cheap and then buying the engines. Yeah, this is I think where they were really nickel and diming you and making money on this stuff, was buying this a la carte, all this a la carte junk. We have half of the King of the Railway Deluxe set. I always liked this set. $130. Actually kind of reasonable, I think. It was a big towering set, and I thought it was really nice. I mean, they're still pushing the DVD and everything and some supporting characters. Connor was definitely not $22. Thomas's Castle Delivery, I think one day at Toys R Us I saw it was 30. So I think these prices are kind of generous. Like, I don't know, I kind of smell something in the water. Like right before they did a price increase, they printed this catalog because I think it's a little outdated from what I remember. This Tidmouth Timber Company Deluxe Figure 8 set is really nice. It kind of has a Misty Island vibe to it, but this picture is fantastic. I think what it's missing though is there's no Bash Dash or Ferdinand, and it's funny because they include them in like the promo picture here, but they're not actually included in the set. So you could buy them individually. That's interesting. Bill and Ben were sold together. Ari and Bert, Den and Dart were sold together, but Bash and Dash under the Fisher Price banner were sold separately for some reason. And then some more like accessory pieces you could buy. Thomas Wooden Railway is cool, but it did end up getting expensive there. This is kind of an area where I kind of have a gripe here. I was never a big fan of all of these variants of characters. I thought this was a huge money waster, and it always bugged me when in the later years of Thomas Wooden Railway, these variants were getting a lot of attention and we were missing characters like Duncan and Daisy and Donald and Douglas and Toad and Rex and stuff. Like, that's kind of what bugged me, and I'm really glad we don't do this nowadays. Wood really didn't touch on it. They had a few light up things in Wood's existence, but with new Thomas Wooden Railway, we really haven't dove into this, and I like it because I think this is a huge money waster, and I don't think these toys are really that great. Talking engines, I guess, are cool, but like I was never super into them as a kid. Roll and Whistle is kind of more of the same. Again, like, do we really need these? I had a really bad experience with these battery-powered engines. I did a whole video review on these back in the day, and basically the synopsis is that they're not very good and they're expensive. Battery-powered Spencer at Toys R Us, like Gordon and Hero, those bigger engines, were definitely $35. Toby's probably the best looking one, but he has a fortunate shape. I was never really like into these, and it always bugged me that it seemingly there was a lot of attention spent on these variants. And again, we were missing like classic characters, and you'd go into Toys R Us in its final days and it's like, there were like 6 versions of Thomas on the shelf. There was normal Thomas, talking Thomas, roll and whistle Thomas. There was a light up reveal Thomas at one point. Then there was a battery operated Thomas. And then there was usually some of these packs left over. Too much Thomas. Like 1 or 2 is great. It kind of mixes it up. But this was just oversaturation. So I'm really glad we haven't gotten back to this because I was never into these. I had the 5-car value pack growing up with like the sad Thomas, and I had an original battery powered Thomas, and I never really played with them as a kid. Like I definitely probably played with them as soon as I got them, but they fell out of favor because, you know, this whole section about, remember this whole thing about imagination? Like I can imagine Thomas is sad. I can imagine Thomas is talking or roll and whistle, whatever. That's just my opinion on it. I'm a little more forgiving of these multi-packs because they are cool, especially the Adventures of Thomas and like Den and Dart there. Some were a lot cooler than the others. I don't have an issue with this. It was mostly like, this was covering a lot of the same ground that had already been trodden on, so I was never a fan of that. And we're actually to the final page here, believe it or not. This is the Brendam Bay Shipping Company set. I did a review on this back in the day, and there are some cool elements to this set, but then like there's also some not cool stuff. Like there's no Cranky, even though he's in the picture up there. That was always kind of lame. That crane is actually, the way it sits on that piece of wood, actually sits lopsided on the carpet because it's off to one side. The play table area was kind of cool. It reminded me of like the take along era, but that Bulstrode is probably like top 5 worst products ever made for Thomas Wooden Railway. They have this thing for battery operated Thomas there, and he's not featured in this set or included in the picture, so I don't know where that little plug-in came from. But yeah, as you can see, they just try to upsell you on a lot of stuff, like get Cranky for $45, get Charlie, aquarium cars, yeah, get it all. All these images are really cool though, like this feels really, really awesome. Then there's kind of this last minute insert actually talking about the catalog that we are viewing, and basically you go to that website or call that number and you can sign up to get a free catalog. And basically that was how you kept, that's how you were, that's how you kept up to date on what was going on with this merchandise, because unless you signed up for the emails or something, you get one of these in the mail once in a while and you could look at all the new products. So that's actually all I have to share about this catalog. This is the back of it, and the previous owner scratched out their address. So presumably the person who that this came from, they bought some stuff in the early days of Thomas Wooden Railway. They got this catalog. I have a couple of more of these that I'm going to review in separate videos. But this is, this was a really cool way of kind of not only taking a trip back in time, but seeing what life was like 10 years ago. The Thomas has changed a lot in 10 years. The online marketplace has changed a lot in 10 years. And that's kind of my thing. It's worthy of its own video, but the Thomas Wooden Railway website was cool, but it was kind of doomed from the start because stuff was expensive. You had to go to your own website, like the Thomas Wooden Railway website to buy stuff. And right around this time is like when Amazon like really started to take off, and they're offering free shipping and all this stuff. And this is getting shipped to you somewhere from China. And it's like, the Thomas Wooden Railway website would have flourished if it had been released like 5 or 10 years prior. It probably would have dominated, honestly. But it kind of came in right at the time when Amazon was becoming big, and then like 2 years later in like 2016, they moved all the stuff from the ThomasWoodenRailway.com domain to the Fisher Price domain, and then they eventually phased all that out. And I think nowadays, if you go on FisherPrice.com, you can't even buy toys on there. They just redirect you to Amazon. I mean, they just really gave up. So I don't blame them because Amazon is such a juggernaut. But like, this is how, like, growing up, like, this is how you would find out about new toys. Like, you'd get catalogs in the mail from places like Macy's, or I remember a store called Foley's, and there was a Toys R Us catalog, and you would, as a kid, scroll through this and look at all this stuff, and this is how you knew what was out there. And it's definitely been replaced by the internet, but it's kind of amazing we got one of these like 10 years ago, and I have a couple more to show. But it is kind of amazing. Like I said, the heart was there, the soul was there. There were good intentions, but it kind of just came along, at the wrong time. I'm not really sure if I've done a good job of showing how big this magazine is, but here's like your stock standard. This is the 2014 yearbook, actually, and it's quite a bit bigger. And it actually makes for a more enjoyable viewing process. I was able to, I have like these spreads across multiple pages I'm able to show you and point. Yearbooks have always been more like, it feels like you're like doing like a flip book or something. And there's not as much detail. It's all promo pictures and a lot of blue backgrounds. And it's cool. It gets the job done for sure. But this is just a little bit better. And they put an effort into like, the backgrounds and stuff. And this makes you really fall in love with Thomas Wooden Railway. The yearbook is more of like, hey, let's take a look at what we did in the past year, almost like a school yearbook. This is like an advertisement, like, hey, look at these cool toys. Like, don't you want to buy these cool toys? Look at all of the fun and imagination you can have with these products. Very consumerism, I know, but this does a great job. It gets me pumped up looking at all this stuff, even though it's 10 years old and you can't really buy any of it anymore. So this was a pleasure to look through. I apologize that I was missing some of the pages, but I think you guys get the gist. Just some really great photography, descriptions, a few errors here and there. I don't really blame them for that. But imagine if, you're a parent and you want to get your kid involved in some really high quality toys. You take a look at a catalog like this, and I think you would be sold in terms of you would have enough information to make a decision. I mean, they didn't really leave a stone unturned or anything like that. So anyway, I think that's going to do it for this July 2014 Thomas & Friends Wooden Railway catalog. It's been really fun looking through this, taking a trip back in time and honestly seeing how good we had it. I mean, at the time, I really didn't realize it. I mean, I remember the website launching and seeing all the exclusive products, and I was like, oh yeah, that's cool. But then you see the prices and you kind of back away. But there was a lot of love and care put into Thomas Wooden Railway during this time, and unfortunately, it kind of evaporated really quickly. I meant to point this out earlier, but this is a nice background and stuff, but we all know this little set that they have here, this piece of track would be in deep trouble. Logan's headed for disaster here if he doesn't get a riser under that track. But anyway, this has been really fun. I hope you have all enjoyed this video. Like I said, I have a couple more of these coming up, just to kind of take some time and look back and see where we came from and see what we're missing out on. So That's going to do it for this video. I thank you all so much for watching, and hopefully you learned something new and got to see some cool pictures you've never seen before, and above all else, just kind of basking in the glory that was Thomas Wooden Railway. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I'll see you soon.